And then
Yeah,
it
I
just kind
understand.
of rolls in, and that would be, and then there's no awkwardness, but that's okay. So share with me just one more time a little bit about your project and who you are. That'd be great
So,
too.
my name is Goetz. I'm the GIS director with Civix. I work remotely in Connecticut and been working on the Nevada Department of Transportation right-of-way project for the last 4 years or so. I was brought on to manage the project because I had similar experience with the Connecticut DOT, working as I was working for one of the regional planning agencies, and we ended up doing parcel data development, and we took their right-of-way data, right-of-way mapping, and incorporated that as the initial step of developing town-wide parcel data sets. Coming from Connecticut, the state that's a small county in California or Nevada or in Arizona, um, traditionally there's only one state plane zone. And I talked to the folks at Connecticut DOT, and they stay within the parameters of the defined state plane zone. But in places like Nevada, which are 22 times the size of Connecticut, they have 3 state plane zones, but none of them fit the accuracy requirements for the DOT to design roadways. So they do custom conversion factors. And so, in some ways, you got to treat every project like its own sort of GIS because it's in a customized low distortion grid. But then we've got to assemble them into a statewide product. So,
That makes perfect sense.
um, a variety of challenges. When a roadway goes, it's 12 miles, but the vertical relief is like, a mile in vertical from, the valley in Vegas to Mount Charleston. You'll have 2 or 3 different coordinate conversion factors on the same roadway. And I've seen it in the same project where you have multiple coordinate conversion factors. So, those are nasty, nasty things if you don't know how to deal with them. When I first started on the project, my first CAD file, DGN file, I'm like, cool, it's got, whatever, Nevada East Zone. I imported it into ArcGIS Pro or ArcMap at the time, and it was about 1,200 feet off.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wait a second, why, I open the CAD file, it looks perfectly fine. There's all this planimetric data, beautiful planimetric data. But when I go to place it on the map, it's, 2 miles off from where it's supposed to be. So that's kind of where, started having to do a lot of research and planning and understanding of how to take something that, the modification of that state plane zone, we had to write scripts to be able to create the projection file for it to be interpreted properly by ArcMap in the right location.
Nice. I love that. What do you want people to take away from today's little interview?
Well, there's no such thing as an easy button when it comes to right away. You can just, you certainly can automate some portions of this type of process, but the human interaction with the data, quality control, um, once you've taken a project, you've built the right of way information in that low distortion grid projection, and then append it to the master data set. And then you have to then, all of the surrounding features you may have to adjust because you've got a NAD 27 project right next to, blending in with the current project, NAD 83, HARN, whatever. And so, some of those things, you can't resolve, you just cannot resolve automatically. Yeah, I mean, that's really the big thing is clearly there's no easy button, but it's doable. This is not a, insurmountable type of project. Fortunately for Nevada, they only had about 5,000 miles of highway, of DOT controlled highway. The many states, that 5,000 to 10,000 is probably an average, but, Texas and North Carolina are at like 80,000 miles. So, that 3-year initial project in Nevada for 5,000 miles could be a lifetime project in some of these other states. And you just have to start working on it now. Nevada DOT rights of way survey services, RWSS GIS app on the NDOT GeoHub site. This is a publicly facing version of their right of way information. When you get into the application, you're looking at the whole state, and Nevada's quite large. So the right-of-way features are initially displayed as just line symbols representing what they call control sections, or just how they organize their content. Diving into the data itself, it was developed based on different categories of right-of-way. Initially, easement fee and prescriptive. Other things came along while working on the project, like maintenance by agreement and just other, sort of unique situations. The first part of the project, we were really focusing on the areas and not necessarily on the individual acquired parcels as part of the right of way. But in a subsequent phase of the project, we started building in acquisition level parcels. And so this is I-15 in Vegas. This is an area that we didn't complete the first phase of the project because it was a multi-billion-dollar project that wasn't completed yet. So they weren't quite ready to hand over the digital files to incorporate that into the project. Typically, you can click on the polygons. You get some information about map sources, the location project number, which is their survey information. And this information is used to support internal and external requests when they go to verify the right of way for whether it be projects, utility permits, or other things that folks are doing in the right of way. And let's see, other things that we incorporated in here, because it is really, this is sort of a land record support. We've incorporated, say, the local parcel data, and we provide this data set's been pulled together by, I believe, another state agency, shared with DOT and and we were able to incorporate that into the applications and then link directly to the county resources. We don't provide any really additional functionality or information, but just give them the ability to link to there. Of course, should have checked maybe it's just another one. There might have been an update and that record is not showing up or responding. That does happen. Eh, eh. We'll go to another county.
That's okay. The important part is that you put in things that are useful to the end user.
Yeah, to the end user when it's functioning correctly. So if we go up into Reno, I know this one at least recently worked. Same kind of deal. You click on the parcel and it'll open up there whatever web application based on however they've configured it to work with those URL parameters to then navigate to that corresponding location. Pull up whatever additional information, whatever additional functionality they provide. It's quite useful for the end users of these products. You can go to the county or the county assessor site, and whatever information they would have on that particular property. I believe they may even have like actual maps or other information that someone may find that may need to utilize in their workflows or whatever they're trying to do. As part of building this data set, we actually recorded methodology based on the lines. So this is a topologically integrated data set of points, polylines, and polygons. And we track how we created the data based on the line segments, because many times you have different methods. You're using different methods to complete a single polygon right-of-way area. It just it's challenging. So we have a fair amount coming from CAD, from MicroStation. Another significant one was copy parallel to alignment. So the design alignment or the acquisition alignment is used to offset. Certainly in urban areas, we use a lot of station offset points. But if you're out in the middle of the desert in Nevada, BLM provides a 400-foot right of way, and it's just offset from the alignments, either the single or the double alignments, depending on if it's an interstate or for some other road. And that's useful, certainly for maintaining and understanding where that information came from. In the second phase, we started adding a little bit more details of which CAD file. At first, it wasn't identified as being important, but as we worked through the first phase and the second phase of the project, we identified that was going to be somewhat important. So we did about 5,000 miles of right-of-way data acquisition, including linear segments where we couldn't actually complete the polygons. So you have this feature here. I should bring up the legend. Right-of-way mapping not available. So there were instances where their records were not up to speed, or we ran into locations where the underlying PLSS depicted in the plans from the 1930s had some, we'll just say, some significant differences than what the BLM depiction is today. And so the deed that said that they acquired it from this property owner or some other property, from a private property owner, you could not make that correlation. And so basically they're going to have to go out and resurvey and reacquire lands to correct those
Wow.
those things.
That's amazing.
By the end of the second phase of the project, these right-of-way mapping not available was less than 1% of the total area or the total amount of right-of-way maps. So, and the total right-of-way area that we did map totaled over 300 square miles of right-of-way, which is about the quarter of the size of the state of Rhode Island.
Wow.
Yeah, these little tiny strips through, whether it's Area 51, what is it? 375 is the what do they call that? Intergalactic Highway. uh, Definitely saw quite a bit of unique geography and conditions, and um, just a lot of fun things to sort of uncover and pull together.
Mm.
So yeah, and I think and internally they're seeing a pretty significant benefit of having this product. Their response time, or the amount of effort to respond to internal and external requests, is they've reduced their workload by like 40%, and their staffing in that department is like down 50%. So it's pretty significant time saver. And I think they're very happy with the product itself. So
Yeah, I could see how most folks could do most of their own research and then, go out and do a permit, and they would feel better about, what the product is because they're invested. And you shared a document with me, and that's why we got together today. Do you
yeah,
want to share that with the folks that are going to be watching this?
data, how a GIS driven right-of-way system supports NDOT planning and staff. So Esri uh, contacted NDOT and us for a case study about our project. And really, it talks about some of the challenges that we faced, the benefits of Agile. So this was an Agile project from the start.
What did you like about Agile?
Well, I like the transparency, the open communications, the commitment that people, um, applied to the project. At first it was really tough because everybody on the other side was new to it. We were relatively new to it. Um, we would have, it was obviously daily scrums. We had our, two backlog refinement meetings, planning meeting, demo, and there was always a lot of participation, because we ended up just, we'd go through, pull up the verification plans and other stuff, and there'd just be stuff that we couldn't complete because there was just lack of information. And, I think it was pretty clear on their end that, yeah, that was their problem to address, to
Mm,
resolve.
okay.
And I think things like the risk mitigation, having elements in place to sort of help identify how to keep the project moving forward. Just developing burn downs and all these things to help convey the fact that we're either doing well or we're going in the right direction or in the wrong direction, and what are the things that we could be doing to get ourselves on the correct path.
Mm,
Um, we one of the things in that agile process allowed us to do, contractually, we were supposed to map all of the right of way, but there were instances where the mapping was so bad we couldn't actually do that. So we ended up coming up with another layer that said mapping not available.
mm,
It still shows where the right of way is, and we may have broken it up to the corresponding map section so that it's still usable. But this is a section of Interstate 15 that they wouldn't release because it was still in process.
mm,
There's a lot of acquisition activity, and they weren't ready to hand it over for it to be developed at
okay.
that time. So, it just, we were able to, keep honing in on the value outcome of the project. So I think that was really one of the great things that we encountered or worked through. Um, and there's always fun things to look at, like Mrs. Paulson's chicken coop.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And if I was prepared, I actually, in one of my trips out there, I actually visited where the location of the chicken coop was. So
Wow.
I've got pictures of they've got signage for these little bump outs. So, just things that you kind of do.
Interesting things that come across your
Yeah,
path.
exactly.
I love that.
But again, like I said before, there's no easy button for this stuff.
Hmm.
Um, these DOT agencies are 100 plus years old. That means that they have 100 plus years of different approaches to document keeping, record keeping, and
Yes.
all that kinds of thing. And then just the agile process really was key. Engagement and accountability. People were showing up daily, for these meetings, whether it was like just a 5-minute, hey, I got nothing new today, we're good.
Yeah.
Click, move on.
Nice.
Or it's a half-hour session of, okay, here's the map, here's the engineering, the design drawing that we're working off of. What can we do here to resolve this, or what other information isn't available? Because this process actually helped them improve their verification process.
Mm,
So it's like this sort of duality of the act of doing it improves your records in the process,
yeah.
which for DOTs and constructability, that's a huge time saver and cost saver. So if they're if the right of way is verified, it gets through the design, all those design phases much faster. If
Yes.
it's not, they have to then go back and do calculations, evaluate all the things that we would do to compile the GIS. So it's like developing the GIS is actually it improves your verification process of your landholding. So, and they do have the app is public, and I think you can see that right now.
Nice. Uh-huh.
Um, and so, we've got, if you know what you're really searching for, we've got tools to search for a variety of things, but I know what I'm looking for, so I can, and most of the staff know what they're looking for, so that you can just zoom into an area that you have issues. This is the area that at the end of our third year was right-of-way mapping not available.
Mm.
By the end of the last year of work, we've completed this section of right-of-way, and so this is a pretty classic example. These are individual parcels that were acquired. This is the kind of style that you see in most urban areas in Nevada. You'll have these. What was once part of a subdivision is now part of the right of way.
Mm.
And the really cool thing about this is we uh, we're leveraging the county's GIS parcel data
Nice.
in the background, and these were developed independently. And sometimes we use their data, the county's GIS data, whether it's in Clark County or Washoe or some other county, to supplement when we got to the end of all the things that we could look at to use to create the right of way.
Mm.
The county parcels were at the end of that sort of chain, the hierarchy of what we could use. The last being we would georeference the right of way plan and just digitize whatever, the boundary or whatever, because it didn't have any COGO or any other information. But the cool thing about this data is, if you look, we're looking at the county equivalent right here, and you kind of have to zoom in to see any sort of differences.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me confidence that
Yes.
we both did an adequate job. Some of those differences may be a result of the low distortion grid. So that if the DOT mapped this to State Plane Harn 83 in whatever zone, those resulting coordinates are going to be slightly different. You
Yeah.
should expect to see that. So,
Yeah.
but the fact is, Nevada, based on its size and its location and its relationship with the federal government, 80% of Nevada is federally owned.
Wow.
And so you'll see that the what we call the rural roads in the middle of the desert,
Yes.
those are actually easements.
Okay.
And so at the end, when we looked at our methodology, which we capture in our right-of-way lines,
Nice.
copy to parallel to alignment had the most length of our right-of-way lines. And in let's see, plus with the station offset, I'd have to find a spot where we defined things by station offset. Oh, actually, I know exactly. Just go to our pilot area. We did a lot of station offsets.
And what is a station offset?
So that is a surveyed location that has a definition related to the alignment.
Okay.
So when they design the roadway, they're using an alignment or baseline. Again, the terminology, baseline, alignment are essentially the same. Centerline has a little bit more broader context in terms of like linear referencing systems, but the alignment or baseline is the surveyed and engineered controlling feature of the design and the acquisition, those acquisitions. So these
and that
are
would be the outside, right? That's the outside of your right of ways.
Yeah, I mean, it could be any breakpoint. So internal between acquisitions, or different acquisitions type. Like over here, we'd have 50 feet left of F3, which is the alignment name. It's a frontage road alignment at that measurement. And I haven't gotten to the point of figuring out to get the stationing formatting correct. The 326 plus 62.14 when you say the stationing.
I like that.
But I mean, that's a minor detail, but essentially, based on our finished work, most of the geometry is based on some form of alignment, whether it's parallel offset or defined by these station offset points, which are a derivative of that roadway alignment.
It looks fantastic. What a great breakthrough for all of you, for the DOT and for your team. So what's next?
For NDOT, it's maintenance.
Maintenance. Okay.
Yeah, we were told we did too good of a job.
I love that. I love when the client is happy.
Yeah. And so internally, like the map number, some of these values translate into links to their right-of-way management system. So if you want to go to the map, internally, this would be, hyperlink in the internal application. But this is meant to provide the surveyors, the communities with information to request to DOT, and they say, I'm doing some project here.
Hmm.
I need this map, and I'm in this control section. It's got this engineering authorization number. It's one of the multitude of project numbers that we see. And then it just makes the request a lot easier to
Yes.
say I just need these specific things. And for the internally, due to the availability of this internally and now externally, they're saving about 50% research time.
Yes.
Once you formalize and organize that organizational history and content and formalize that, it just becomes a lot easier. That institutional knowledge is no longer buried in somebody's head. It's
Right.
in the GIS.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to make sure that somebody at the utility company gets a hold of this part right here because I worked on a project and we did map series. So we have all those maps, but I didn't stay on long enough to get to this point, but I love how you did that. So I'll share this with those folks and maybe this is the next step for them.
That'd be great. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the utility, I've worked on, right now I'm also working on, what are they, the Flood Control Authority work in Southeast Louisiana. So
Wow.
similar, whether it's the electric or the gas company, their right of, their transmission right of ways, similar concepts, alignments, station
Yes.
offsets, survey control, and depending on the state, that low distortion grid conversion factor.
I
But
love this. Yeah, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for spending time
no
with me
problem.
this morning. This is amazing. And I'm so glad that we got to talk through your document because being able to see it makes so much sense.
Yeah, I appreciate you reaching out and taking the time to do this. This has been
Yeah.
fun.